There is nothing outside. And again, I often refer to the concept, if you go into a movie theater, you know very well your favorite character is not on the screen. It is simply a projection from the film that's placed in front of the light of the movie projector, okay? And literally, our world is as well, although that's not our experience at all times. I don't know who's talking here, but let's see if we can mute everybody. Okay. So, again, this is an extremely important passage. There is nothing outside. I look in my mind and choose the ego, guilt, attack, death, and darkness. That then is what I see in the world. So the only way I know what I chose is to look in the world and see what's going on in the world. And if it's not peace, joy, love, connection, and oneness, you know it's a projection from the belief of the ego. And literally, that's the only way you're going to know what's going on in your mind. So those people that irritate you, upset you, and piss you off are actually your gift, because they're reminding you you're not at peace. And I know that's a kind of around the block kind of way of looking at it, but ultimately that's absolutely correct, yes. Because I wouldn't know what was going on in my mind if it wasn't for the irritants that I have in the world that show me that I have lost my peace. Because I can walk around and say everything's good in my life. What do I need to ask God for or help for?
So I started to do this affirmation of for myself is the way I'm really asking God to help me with this particular thing I'm thinking about. And so my new affirmation is I ask Jesus to, in this present moment now, to show me how I'm at one with God. Mm-hmm. I'm like, come on, I don't get this. This is, you get, like, I think I go through certain hurdles and then I stop and I go, okay, oh, it's really nice. And then pretty soon I go, what? How do I at one with God? So I've been using that for about 2 weeks now. Nice. Every time I can think of it, I think of it, or I say it, for a while, or I have me. And so it's been interesting to see how what you just said about the world, about the perception,
right,
how that has triggered for me a better understanding of that. Because I'm waiting, like, what, how am I at one with God? I think the words get in the way, actually, of what you want. The words get in the way, and you're saying things like that, and you stop yourself and go, what the hell are you talking about? And who could you tell that to? Nobody wants to hear that. So that's been interesting to me to see how what you started to talk about is becoming clearer, because I grabbed onto that. I felt like I grabbed onto a life raft.
Right.
Okay, now what? And then I just asked to be. I can't stay mad because it doesn't work. So I get just calm and keep saying it.
Yep. But who has the mind, the right mind and the left mind? I know we all do. But what else informs us? Is it animals? Is it a chair? What else has a mind with an ego component?
Right. Technically everything, but it's hard to wrap your head around the capacity of that being a possibility, because we think we know something, but we don't really. Yeah.
So you're saying it's just us. We're not even seeing it. We're projecting all these things, but you're saying. Right. What is it? Because we're projecting it? I think we're all seeing chairs in this room.
Well, and we all see collective similar things, but one person could say, oh, that's a beautiful chair. Another person would say, oh, that's the ugliest chair I've ever seen. Another person would say, oh my gosh, I just banged my toe on that chair, that stupid chair. So you see, that's the part we really want to hone in on more than, I look out there and we could all see trees. But how do those trees affect me? That's the part we really have to spend time.
It's always about how they affect me, which is that's the atonement.
Correct.
But where is this right mind and this left mind in our projections? Who has this right mind? And
well, the deal of the question is we're deflating.
That's true.
deflating my opportunity to make that choice. Okay, and ultimately the choice is always in your mind. When we all collectively separated, we all came together with this one. At the moment, that was just one sun. So we're all collectively, even the sand and the trees and whatever. So when we then projected it into the world, we projected it into many different facets of things and people and situations. And we now think those are all individual, special, and different. But in essence, they're really coming from the mind that said, let's do it on our own.
So it's just me.
It's just you.
me.
Yes, yeah. And as I said before, the only way we're going to know what's going on here is how I respond to what's going on here. If I lose my peace, it's an indication that this has to be the gear that was chosen. And then I can say, okay, don't like that gear, I'm going to see what's going on over here. So to then, take what the ego set up and use it for a different purpose here. All right, so we just found out what happens if you've chosen for the ego. You're going to have guilt, attack, death, and darkness. And that's what you're going to see in the world. It's inevitable. It can't not be anything else, basically. Then I can look within, choose the light of the atonement, and feel the presence of the love of Jesus. So that's what we're being asked to do, become aware what's going on, and then when I'm ready, ask to see it through Jesus' eyes instead of through the ego's eyes. And that's our gift of the Course, that's our gift of this whole process, is I now know I have another choice. And Ken used to always say, the number one thing of the Course that's the most important is to realize that I have another part of my mind. Because this was blocked off after we made this choice. Then we projected it into the world and we blocked this off so that all I know is this little square here, of which I just did the best I can to manipulate things to make it better in my world. No brainer. Now it's telling us, well, yeah, but if you don't understand that this is a result of this, and the Course uses the words, this is the cause, this is effect, we're always trying to fix the effect. That will never work. Because the problem is not the effect, and that would be just like going up to the screen if you didn't like the movie with a knife and hacking away at the screen. That would do nothing. You'd have to go back to where the film is, or the writer of the movie, or whatever, to the cause, and then question that. As long as you're doing it out there, nothing's ever going to be accomplished, which is tricky because we all know within the box of the world, let's say I have a job I don't like, and so I quit the job, I go find another job. Oh, I like my new job. And then 10 days later, somebody comes in and sits next to you that just drives you crazy all day. So it's like somehow a projection of guilt, sin, and fear, separation, attack, and all those wonderful words is going to show up in your life until your mind gets healed, that knows no matter what happens in the world, I'm totally at peace because I'm coming from my correct mind instead of my separated mind.
So isn't it true then that all the words in the book have that quality of being, you still have to make a choice?
Mm-hmm.
Because
That's it.
The one of the lessons, the peace of God is shining in me now.
Mm-hmm.
Let all things shine. So that's really, you can say that, like you said, you could say that all day long, but you have to want to know what that means. And
yes.
It's difficult to come to grips with what that is personally. So that's the job,
But I think the deal is, it's not for you to figure it out. It's for you to get your story out of the way to allow that to come forth. And so when you're asking, the ultimate asking isn't just fix the world, because that's not important. The asking is, help me to line up with who I really am so I'll know who I am and who my brother is and who my father is.
Right, so that in saying that lesson or whatever,
right.
In saying that, you really are asking, if you're reading it, the whole point is to ask to see it through, see what it means, to see what God or what Jesus means by that.
Correct.
Internally is that you're at the point of choice.
Yep.
So the peace of God is shining in right now. Well, ho hum, where is it? I guess that's the part where you're saying something that for you isn't true yet.
Correct, big time.
And so that's where your choice comes in about, you keep trying to ask, you keep asking for it to be shown to you how that's true.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's the little willingness of taking whatever circumstances you're living in that may not be very comfortable or fun and pushing them aside a moment and saying, okay, you keep telling me there's another way to see this that I can't identify with right now, because when I'm looking at it, they're wrong and they shouldn't have done that and that's not right and that's not fair, and the litany of the list of possibilities is endless.
So that's how when that guy Kramer
Oh.
in that show, he would say serenity now, and they would laugh because see how serenity now, and it was funny and it was
Right.
humorous, but basically we're all trying to do that. In our own way, we're trying to connect with how does this really work.
Correct. And when we're saying serenity, well, I'm using those words, serenity now, from the perspective of the Course, it's, I want my mind to be stilled so that I can calm down from this story and open to the answer that is beyond this story. Yeah. Yeah.
I had the chance over this week to actually, and it's the first time I did it in a long time because of you in this class, just there was a lot of stuff, a lot of gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, I actually remembered that a miracle was a change in perception and just asked for a miracle. And I literally started doing it. I need a miracle. I need to see this differently. And it helped. I mean, it did, because it's like all of a sudden, just that one time. And that's fine. I'll take it.
Oh, man,
You know,
yeah.
It's really into their
Yes.
side
Yeah.
instead of me. So
Yeah.
that was kind of profound.
Exactly. And that's beautiful. And that's literally what we're being asked to do. And that is a very strong statement in the Course. It's not to change the world, it's to change your mind about the world. And even the changing of the mind is not up to you. The changing of the mind is that door is open when I have the willingness to ask to be shown another way. Yeah. And, I think so many of the words in the Course, especially when you first start, sound like, oh, I'm going to ask for help and da-da-da-da, everything in my life is wonderful, but that's not my business. My business is I want my mind to be aligned with this choice instead of this choice. And what happens after that literally is none of my business. And if that turns out great, enjoy it. And if that turns out uglier than it was 5 minutes ago, that's none of your business either. But the point being is, if my mind is still and at peace, whatever goes on the outside is not going to affect me. And that's what this is talking about. They talked about Jesus being in the world, but not of the world, because he knew none of it was real. If we all went to if you were in a play, you'd play your part the best way you could. But after the play, and let's say in the play, one of you had to kill the other one, then the two of the characters would go out to eat later on. They'd go, oh man, you really played that part really great. Oh, I love the way you did that. But we get all caught up in this is all important, this is valuable. And having said that, this is not about pretending stuff in the world doesn't bother you. Because if that's where you are, that's where you are. But when you can have the wherewithal in the midst of that insanity to open up to another choice, that's when the real gift comes through.
Open up to another choice. The first thing I think for me is, I don't know if I'm always open, is to ask for help.
Well, yeah, that's
Always ask for help, because I'm
yeah.
not sure I'm still, but at least
Right.
I'm asking for help.
Yeah. Yeah, and keep remembering, when most of us started the Course, somebody said something and then this was what was going on 24 hours a day. You didn't think about it, you didn't observe it, you just acted like an idiot in the world, just attacking, kill or be killed. At this point, even if I'm not ready to ask all the time, the fact that I'm starting to become aware of the dynamics that are going on, and then it eventually will dawn on me, you know what, I don't want to play in those dynamics anymore. Then I would be willing to really open to a totally different answer. But definitely asking for help. If you're asking for help, even if it's not the purest form of asking for help, at least you're conscious enough to know something's going on here and this isn't working for me anymore.
And you're not whacking on yourself anymore.
Correct.
You did it, it's your fault. This is
Exactly.
what
Whether
it
it's
is.
they did it or you did it,
How
it doesn't
gonna
matter.
be,
Yeah.
This is a mess and that,
Yeah.
so.
All right. So then, all right, so let's see. So that's what you're going to see in the world if you choose for the ego. I look within, choose the light of the atonement, and feel the presence of the love of God, of Jesus. I then look out and see the light and love all around me, or else the call for it, as the texts instruct us. So what that basically means is even if somebody's, yelling and screaming, it will dawn on you eventually that they're just calling for love. Now, again, don't make those words up and go, oh, they're just calling for love, when in truth you haven't really healed yourself. They sound very, yeah, yeah.
Stop it, but
Exactly. And eventually it will like dawn on you, oh my gosh, they're so wounded. That's literally their call for love. And if I'm no longer wounded too, I can be that presence of peace that they're questing for but don't even know about. So that's a real big gift to give.
and that's how you did nothing.
And you did nothing,
You
yes,
did
correct.
nothing to like conflagrate the thing more, or you did
Right.
nothing, you just stopped and
Yes,
said, I don't know what to do.
exactly.
Or I don't know what to do to make this go away, I don't know what to do to help
I
this.
don't know how, I don't know. And that's a powerful statement in the Course. And again, Workbook 5, I never upset for the reason I think. If I'm never upset for the reason I think, I don't even know why I'm upset. And it always goes back to you believe you're separated from God, no matter what it looks like on the outside. And that's not our experience. Our experience is I was fine. I woke up this morning, I was whistling on the way to work. And then the idiot, knocked me, cut me off in traffic. It's not me. It has to be them. And what this is saying is, in your mind, you cover it over God's face, and then you put the film over it, and somehow projected that out into the world, and it appears they did it. They didn't do it, because this is all part of my dream. Okay, and as you notice the character in the middle who's crooked today, straighten up, girl. No, she got worse. I guess I have to glue her better. The hero of the dream, it's always me against the rest of the world. But what this is saying is you and the rest of the world is the thought system that is covering over God's face. And everyone and everything is part of that. So if you hate one of the characters in your dream, you're literally hating yourself too. Behave. Anyways, and that's not natural thinking in the way our setup of the illusion is set up. It's literally, it happened to me and it's their fault. And to come to really grasp and understand nothing, and there's places in the Course where it says, everything you see is what you ask for. And this, repeated throughout the Course in many different ways, and yet this has that fully, drenched us through, so we really accept that as true reality? And the answer is no, not really.
Because we're so enmeshed in what
We're
he's
so
talking
enmeshed.
the I person.
The E-mind, yes,
We're so
the me,
enmeshed in
how it affects me.
Feeling the effects of it and then holding on to them and
Yep.
holding on to those effects as reality.
Yes. And, there's an aspect of us that cherishes holding on to the effects of what seems to have happened because we're afraid of the love of God. And, so many of the workbook lessons really are gearing us to accept that God is only love, because we projected onto God our guilt, sin, and fear. That was number one. So we don't trust God. We don't believe he's there for us. We don't believe that he's only love and only good, because that's how we set it up. And so, it sounds like, well, guilt, sin, and fear, duh, that's terrible. I'll choose the other, no brainer. Well, why don't we choose it all the time? Because underlying that is there's a good reason why I'm not ready to fully embrace just oneness. And so every time you have the little willingness, this is, I sometimes talk about the bank account. If I start putting the coins in this bank account, this is the one that's going to grow, and this one's going to diminish. But right now, we've had all our coins in this one because we didn't know any better, so we just kept reinforcing it. All right, so then if you choose for the atonement, you look out and see light and love all around me, or else the call for it as the text instructs. Clearly, this does not mean what we see with our eyes, but the interpretation our minds put on what we see. Because when I look out from the healed mind, I'm going to interpret whatever's going on the screen from a different point of view. It is not difficult to look within because we are already within. Now, how's that for a little line? Only we keep forgetting that we are already within because the focus on the outside world is still so much with us, as they say, whether it's something positive or something negative. All these things are calling our names. And the answer is this. It's just like, how do I go from, total insanity to total peace in one turnaround? It's going to take a little practice before we really embrace that in a way where that is only what I really want.
Just to realize that it's not nothing. It looks
Oh,
like a
right,
big bunch of
exactly.
nothing,
Good
but
point.
it's enlightenment. So
Yes.
That's, I think, when to use all the words of the Course and all the materials, it brings you up short by the whole other side of the story, which is.
Well, yeah, and a lot of, especially when we begin the Course, we hear the words, ask for help and everything's good. We immediately think that means my world is going to change around and be this wonderful, smooth ice skating rink where everything's just flowing. And that is not necessarily the answer that will be provided. It is my mind that I have to focus on. And, be very aware, some of us have been studying for a long time, and the facts are, I just want my little world to be better. Like it or not, that's just kind of, it's just where it
Tell
is.
Jesus to knock it off already.
Yeah, right.
Get the
Don't you
show
see me here? I've got a better plan. He goes, yeah, sit down, be quiet. Yeah. All right, so what is difficult is that we think we are without. Okay, so in other words, we think, well, I can feel my body, I can see it, I look in the mirror, I can talk to people. I don't think I'm within, I think I'm without. And probably 98%, maybe more, of our life experience is on the outside rather than the inside. And our goal is ultimately to spend more time on the inside. And like it or not, a lot of times when life gets pretty rough are the moments we're more willing to go within because we're desperate. Sad that it has to be that way, but that certainly does seem to be the culmination of things as we begin this journey. All right, so in other words, ideas leave not their source, the source always being our minds, outside of which is truly nothing. Okay. So this course is always focused on the mind. It is not focused on the outside. And which mind am I operating from? The only way I know is, am I at peace or am I not at peace? And I think especially in the initial beginning process of the first 30 or 40 years, I think we have this tendency to think, oh, there I go again, I'm bad. Because I found that I'm not at peace. And rather than look at it from that perspective, look at it from the perspective of, oh, thank you very much. Now I know I can ask for help. Because we have this, at least, I shouldn't say everybody, but that's my experience. It's like, I want to be done. I want to be there. And I just found out I'm not because I just spewed all over the room and it wasn't too pretty. And Jesus would say, and there she goes again, big deal. What would you expect of somebody who's aligned with the mind of separation?
You just get your little shovel and go. I guess that becomes the natural order of things in that realm, because you just keep going back to what you're asked to do. And then when you do that work, you get satisfaction. Because you're not trying to beat away at something that you want, but you're asking in another whole nother realm where they keep telling us that's where we are. So it's helpful.
Yeah.
Starts to be more helpful in that way.
Yeah.
I guess that was what I did for years, was affirmations and praying for things to be a certain way. Or
Sure.
and then I did ask Jesus, I don't know what to do, with my
Right.
mother or whatever, and I got answers because I stuck with that prayer because I was so fed up with everything. So I guess I did, but then coming here made it more real to me how it works better.
All right, so learning this course is a lifetime's work because there is such resistance to it. And, I've said many times, if we could walk in the room with our minds totally blank of everything that's ever happened to us in the past or the future and hear the course's words, we go, oh yeah, oh thank you. But most of us walk in here, including myself, with preconceived ideas, beliefs, prejudices, thinking I know, and all that stuff. So those create the resistances that keep us from just accepting the words of the course. We continually put up our barriers, especially intellectual ones, whenever we try to understand and pull the Course in Miracles apart in terms of meaning, which almost guarantees that we will never get it. And what he's trying to lead into by saying this is, when you go within, I don't have to figure it out. Going within is, I don't know how to figure it out. You show me, which is very different. Okay, you just give yourself, remember, as long as you think there is a you who is studying the course will ultimately never work for you. Such dualistic experience is the entree level, to be sure, because we all need to begin that way. But the very experience of yourself as a student, learning from your inner teacher here and reading this, will end up being the greatest block if you do not eventually grow beyond this stage. So again, we're going to start with that stage, but I like to think of it as you're learning how to play the piano. It's, I got one note and now I've got a song. Now I can get a more mature song. But eventually, if you've ever watched somebody who's totally into the music, they're not there. They're just playing. It's coming through them. And literally, that's exactly how this course will begin to unfold, because you're not, one letter, no one word, one whatever. You're just open to, I don't know, and letting it flow through you. But again, all those aspects of resistance keep us from embracing that. And there's a couple places in the course where it talks about the idea of, we think we need to know how to work this. We think we have to understand it. And Jesus says, literally in one section, you think it's personally insulting that you don't have to know any of it. Just do it. But we will continue to try to control it because we're good little egos. And that's all there is to it. All right, so the only way you can really understand A Course in Miracles is if it is inside you. I'm not saying that you should not read and study it. You certainly must, and Jesus insisted that Helen and Bill do just that. But to ensure more than just an intellectual mastery of this material, it has to become you, so that in a sense, it is no longer you reading the words, it is the words infusing you. That is why Jesus says this is simple. Yeah, right. Again, it is not difficult to look within. You are already within. So you have to break through the dualistic barrier that sees you as a student learning from a teacher or a reader looking at a book. You begin with dualism, but you cannot end with that, because if you do, you will never really learn the course. And I'm sure some of you have known people throughout your course time that could repeat the words of the course verbatim, but do they really take it within and live through that? Because if they did, they probably wouldn't need to repeat it all the time. But that's how we are. Okay.
Just read the whole book and you're done with it.
Oh, yeah, or just do the workbook lessons and you're done. I've talked to people, I did the course.
I did the course,
Yeah.
they'll say,
Yeah.
I did that a long time.
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah, I guess it's maybe
Which is
that's
okay.
what we all wanna do, is do it once and get it
Oh,
done.
gosh, yeah. I mean,
That's the egoic way of looking at it.
absolutely. I mean,
Because that's the way the ego functions. You read,
yeah.
well, maybe it's me reading a novel, that's enough for me.
Mhm. Yep. Well, I remember reading it the first time rather quickly and got to the end and it says, this is just a beginning. And it was like, that's not what I wanted to hear. All right. But, even as I read a few minutes ago, his concept that learning this course is a lifetime's work. And, I like to think of it as if somebody took this book and slammed it down in front of a, 3-month-old baby and said, here, read this. Well, that wouldn't happen. But just like a baby, when they first start, they just drink milk, and then eventually you grind up food and stick some in their mouth, and half of it they spit out. And then eventually they can eat a little more, and then eventually they can chew. Well, that's exactly how we are, as we keep progressing through this. And those of you who have either read the book before and then going through again, or done the lessons and go through again, and I've been through the lessons 8 or 9 times, and I started recently doing them again. And it's like, I'm amazed at some of the lessons, I swear, I've never read before. Yeah.
Did you say lifetimes of work or lifetimes?
Well, it says life, let's see, just to be sure. Lifetimes,
So I thought you
yeah.
said lifetimes of work.
Yeah.
Which makes
Well,
sense.
and think about it, guys. We spent, since the Big Bang, playing over here, okay? So if we really think, oh, I'm going to get that this lifetime, not that that's impossible, don't get me wrong, but the chances are rather slim, because it took a long time of us to grow into the investment in this thought system, and the undoing process might take a little while as well.
I always like it when he says stuff like lifetimes, because we know that there is no lifetimes, because we're not
Well,
here.
exactly,
But on the other
yes.
hand, it seems like we're here, so we're gonna
Right.
call it lifetime or lifetimes.
Exactly.
Makes sense to us.
And I don't know why I'm inspired to share this, but even with Bill and Helen, they had an instant repelling from each other. They just had a very difficult relationship. And then Helen had an awareness of another lifetime where the two of them were in some kingdom somewhere, and she was the queen of the kingdom, and he was a slave, and he stole her headdress, and he hid it away somewhere, and somebody found it, and it was Helen's job to stab him in the heart, because that was the rule of wherever they lived, and she couldn't do it. And then they cast her off into the desert, totally stripped of all her things. So they meet in this lifetime, and there's a little brutality that's going on in between, of which they have no conscious awareness of what's going on. And I'm sure those kinds of things are happening to all of us. It's like there's this instant hate or love that you don't have any understanding of what's going on. So as we dig through the layers, all of that will keep releasing, but there's no logic. You can't figure it out. Or even when he talks about, when you ask, if you have the little willingness to ask, not only will the relationship that you're confronted with that you think is the problem heal, thousands of other people behind that could be healed by your asking for healing on that one item. Which, this is so much bigger than our conscious, logical progression of understanding things is. And I think a lot of that has to go to trusting that if he's telling me that's how this is going to work, and I keep working it, that it will unfold that way.
Instead of what you see them going, you again. Not you again, oh no.
Yeah. All right, so while The Course in Miracles is written on a highly intellectual level and demands a great deal of attention as you read it, interestingly enough, the intellect itself is used to get you beyond the intellect. And I've often thought as well, as most of you probably, if you've read any pages in the book, know this isn't a C-spot run book. It's like, whoa. And it took me a long time to realize that he did that because I can't just do my normal way of reading. It kind of kicks my intellectual thinking mind out of the way and then sneaks in a couple concepts when we're not looking. And it's really set up that way because it seems like it would have been easier had it been a little bit different languaging. But
He just would have told us what to do.
yeah, right. He does. We just don't like to listen to what he tells us. All right. When you study A Course in Miracles, you are reflecting a process in your mind whereby you have gone through the darkness to that thought of light so that you can look at the darkness from the perspective of the light. So in other words, the Course talks about we don't want to bring the darkness, which is the world, to the light to get it fixed. We want to take the light to the darkness, and then we will experience the light. I think I said that correctly. All right, I didn't want to get twisted up in my head, because a lot of times we want to take, the world and have God fix it or change it. Give me the red wagon, I want a new car, or whatever. And a number of years back, we did the, what was it? Something about darkness, a little, I know, I can't think of it. Anyways, I don't remember what the name of it is, but it talks about the progression of prayer and says initially we're going to ask for the little red wagon or don't make my dog die or whatever it may be.
The
Song of prayer. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then as we move up the ladder, eventually our only prayer would be, show me who I am. But we can't pretend I'm at the top of the ladder if in fact I still want stuff of the world. But also to hold the focus that I want to get to the point where I only want that. So, all right. But since we think we are bodies governed by a brain, we have the Course in this form. So it's brought to us in a form where we can think we're relating to it as a human being reading words on a page in a book. And I just want to comment about Bill and Helen, who at that moment when they were having difficulties in their meetings, and one, I think it was Bill said to Helen, there must be another way. Helen agreed, and then somehow the Course came through. Well, they opened up the door, and somehow all of us have opened up the door, or we wouldn't be sitting in this room.
And did they figure that out, or did the Course, or did Jesus help them figure that out?
Well, but think about, okay, so when you remove this even for a little bit, now instead of the projection of this, you're going to have the reflection of this. And that reflection in that particular case was a book called The Course in Miracles.
But I mean, did they figure that out?
Did they figure
I
what?
mean, we're saying this is what happened. We're saying that Bill said there must be a better way because
Right.
he's having such a hard time in the meeting.
Correct.
So Helen responds, I agree.
Correct.
Now that, as we've all kind of heard many times, is the opening to how the Course in Miracles
Right.
came through. Who said that initially?
Who said it?
Yeah, who figured that out?
I don't think they knew. I mean, just like we're not.
So maybe it was just, maybe Ken figured it out later, or maybe
I'm not-
somebody figured that out for that story to go around over and over.
Well, Helen and Bill had that conversation, and then a number of months later, Helen had the experience of the Course saying, this is a Course in Miracles, please take notes.
Okay, so they must have been able to say, okay.
Well,
let's
I mean,
take notes. Oh boy, I think this goes back to the time we agreed to.
Right, okay, I see what you're
Okay.
asking, yeah. And I think they kind of connected the dots, and then Jesus pretty much said, this is, yeah.
Okay.
And they didn't always like it either.
Oh, heck
They
no.
didn't always like what was coming through.
I mean,
Can you imagine
the-
like having all these thoughts and writing them down, like, what is this?
Well, especially for a psychotherapist who thought all that stuff was nutso. Definitely would not be something you would go, oh boy, am I glad they chose me to do this. That was quite a challenge for her. So, my experience is your life is going to have some upheaval that's going to take you to a different place, and you're not going to go, oh boy, isn't this a wonderful trip? but it, in the end, will take you to a place beyond who you are right now, which is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, can you imagine? I mean, I used to tease and say, I think we should have a I Hate Helen Schuckman Day once in a while. Because, she got to talk to Jesus. He told her where to go shopping, and it's like, I'm asking Jesus, and he's not talking to me at all. But if you think about it from the perspective of she was truly, truly challenged by being the person that this information came through. And we're going to be challenged in our own specific ways.
Well, it is kind of, though, how when you ask, I'm sure others have had this experience, when you will get a string of words that will get you out of the, show you kind of like this is your choice.
Yep.
But how well it's the more you ask it's just I think the frustrating part is not knowing what to do.
Right.
And then giving up and thinking, well, nobody's gonna tell me what to do, and then just having some words come out that actually like readjust everybody's thinking all of a sudden. You say something and everybody goes, oh, okay. I mean, it's just how interesting it is to have this available.
Right. And sometimes the answer is stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you're getting a message. The answer is to stop. Right. And because if if you're in a place where you can stop, that opens up that place of another possibility.
Well, that makes it more tricky in a way, but
it's tricky.
It is tricky, because
yeah.
kind of like you're asking, help me, and then you have to you pay attention to that and wait. And it is better not to say things then.
Well, yeah. Well, and if you think about,
you feel peace better. You get peace out of that, about just not going there.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, if your mind is frantic and upset and you're trying to make a choice or a decision, do you think it's going to come out real good? If you just look at it from that perspective, the answer is absolutely not. But if I come to a place of peace and allow the answer to come, that's going to bring forth something totally different. All right.
It seems to me that the inner movement that allows me to ask is the state, like the inner state that connects me with this.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's the thing I keep, I forget or remember.
Right, yeah.
It's like this moment of forgetting or remembering.
Yeah. And quite literally, all of us found that space, whether we are consciously aware of it, to allow this to come through. Literally, yeah.
So that's the ego trip that wants to
yes.
know.
Oh, yes.
Wants to know and understand the problem.
Yes, exactly. And before you came in, we were just talking about that whole idea of how it can be personally insulting to us that I don't have to know how to do it. My only job is to get out of the way and let it come through, which, I gotta figure this out, how I want to, because that's how we are.
I guess especially if you did a lot of work in one area of your life and you think you know everything, and then something comes along that you don't know, and you have to step out of the box, and I guess that's hard to do.
Yep. So the learning, though, does not occur as you look at this book or study it. The learning occurs, again, in the mind, which has nothing to do with the body. So it's almost like you use your intellectual mind to study, practice, and understand it, but then it's the actual experience and the effects of that experience that will show you that you're getting it.
That's the boot camp.
That's boot camp, yeah. Just as guilt comes from the belief in being separate and is a barrier to learning, so then is the alleviation of guilt removes the barrier entirely. So again, this is the barrier, it's removed, the answer comes. Sounds so simple, doesn't it? Bang, bang, bang. And when you begin to realize that you and this other person have no separate interests, you are beginning the process of merging. And I'll just stop there for a moment. That's That's a concept Ken focuses on all the time, of no separate interests, because we all think I'm against you, you're against me, I got my plans, you've got your plans. And we seldom ever look past my plan to realize our real common interest is to remember who we are. Because we're so busy banging heads on my outside way of looking at the world. It is not bodies that merge, it is minds that merge. And if you think about asking to see this differently, let me just see it. I don't have my card. But if you're over in duality over here, and when you come over here, you're choosing for oneness. Oneness encompasses everybody. Here, it's just a dualistic oppositional experience, okay? And realize you're either here or you're here. These don't touch. So if you relinquish the duality or the dualistic way of experiencing what you're experiencing and you say help, you're literally saying, I want to know what wholeness is instead of duality. It's not, I want to fix my world and make it better. It's, I want to know what oneness is, which is very different.
And you can't take the duality and wish to be able to make it into oneness yourself.
Or fix it, or change it, or make it better,
You can't do
any of
it
that.
yourself.
Yes.
You can't, as an ego, you can't, even though it's what the Course directs us to.
Yeah. As you continue that process, the right mind, the home of the Holy Spirit in your post-separation mind, merges with all, because there is only one mind, capital M. So again, if you think of it, if I'm in conflict, I gotta be over here. It can't be any other way, because you can't have a conflict with one. Pretty simple. And when you drop this and you open the door to this, you're literally saying, I want to know what oneness, I want to see my brother and I as the same. Because with my eyes in duality, my emotions, my feelings, my everything, I'm never going to see us as the same. In fact, it's like, I often suggest that people don't go straight to help. They go to, okay, Holy Spirit, right now I really want to poke this person's eyes out. How dare they do this to me? This is not right. This is unfair. Whatever your experiences are, don't pretend yourself to oneness. In other words, really jump into the whole thing. And then when you realize, okay, that's not going to bring me an answer I really want any longer, then the willingness to drop that and choose for this.
Or how you're supposed to be at one, how you're supposed to be, get past what you're doing, but you can't do it because you're not good enough and you're too dumb to do it. I
Whatever.
think that's another stumbling block is, so they've got it all lined up, like just like when we were young, what you're supposed to do this and that. And that's not the mechanism. It's more what Laura
Correct.
said about that you have to go to that spot where you don't know, and then you know that you can open to something.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you've already decided how
Right, yeah, and
it's
it's,
supposed to be, or how
Yep.
you screwed up, or
Yep.
which just seems like that's what every other kind of learning in the world is about.
Of course.
When you make a mistake.
Absolutely, yes. And if you think you're going to the space of oneness with a picture or an investment of what that outcome's going to look like, you're over here. Okay, this is, I don't know. And if I don't know, then I can open to another answer that will be brought to me.
It doesn't feel safe to not know.
Oh, no, because understand, the first choice was I knew what I wanted to do, and I did it. And ever since then, that has brought babies of this thought system, and to stop and go, I don't know, I want to know what the answer is threatening to my very existence here. It's not a very easy transition, you might say.
Well, I found myself saying that to people who are interested in what I'm about or what I'm going to do or how, and I'll say, I don't know. And just then 4 hours later, I still don't know. I have to get comfortable with I don't know, that something's going to push me over the edge, so I do know something. It's very, at first
Right.
it's kind
It's
of
very,
debilitating,
yeah.
and then it's just kind of like, well, I don't know, maybe I'm not going to do anything. Maybe I'm going to ascend in the next 2 hours and I don't have to do a damn thing anymore, well, maybe I'm gonna, so it's just how that's, and that feels threatening too, like,
Absolutely.
I don't wanna ascend right this minute, I think I wanna do other things, so it's just,
Yeah.
like, like my body's gonna disintegrate or something's gonna happen. So it's interesting how it's, you kind of sit on the edge of it a lot of times, and then you have to give that up. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
you get off the edge, but it's nerve wracking because you're always going back and forth.
What you said about it doesn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Our whole sense of security
Oh.
comes from the illusion of permanence.
And me being in control.
And-
Yes,
and
yeah,
in control.
yeah.
Yes.
It's very threatening to us initially, and I think as we do it more and more, and we reap the effects of more peace in our lives, we're going to want to do it more often. But initially, it's like a real fight to relinquish that. And of course, we think we know and we think we're right, so I don't want to relinquish that either. But I think if you look at it from the 2 versus 1, it's like if I'm, in fact, there's a line in the Course that even says, even if you're having an argument with somebody else and you are physically correct, you're still wrong because you're playing in duality instead of oneness. So if you look at it from that point of view of, do I really want oneness more than I want the fight of duality? And, think about playing tug of war. If one of you says, I'm done, they drop the rope, the game is over with you two.
Yeah, so really, you can't play it all from the start.
Well, yeah, and we like to play because playing perpetuates the separation. And oftentimes we don't even know how invested in the need to play we are.
Yeah, because, you're having a conversation and there's a point being made, and it
Right.
sounds like you can't make that point. Or, the point's being made, but you
Right.
can't give another point.
Right.
Or you're starting the whole game.
Right. And some of that can be, I can give my opinion, but if I think they have to go along with my opinion, and I'm going to stay and fight until they see my point of view, it's very different than just expressing your opinion and dropping it. Yeah. Because there's nowhere in the Course that says you shouldn't have an opinion or you shouldn't speak your mind or whatever, but am I going to invest that everybody has to agree with me? That's kind of a very different experience. Yeah. All right. As you continue that process, the right mind, the home of the Holy Spirit in your post-separation mind merges with all because there is only one mind, capital M. So it's either am I playing in the mind, little m mind in duality, or am I playing in the oneness mind with a capital M? A Course in Miracles is a part of that mind, the capital M mind, because it's trying to take us back to oneness instead of duality. Just as any great work of art or any authentic spiritual teaching is, you simply become one with its oneness. And be very aware throughout your day, if you do nothing else, of how much you don't want to mesh with oneness, how you don't want to relinquish the rope of the tug of war. You still want to win. And smile at it, don't judge it, don't attack it, but become aware that's the game we're still playing. We get a thrill out of that. And one of the thrills, ultimately, of winning in the world is I still think I'm real. Because I couldn't be real. I mean, I have to be real if I'm going to win. I probably have to be real if I lose, too. But when I relinquish the game, it's a whole nother story.
But you can still play canasta and play.
Oh, sure.
Play war to get.
Right. Right.
So that's another part that gets a little confusing because people in the other religions, like they say, no dancing, no card playing,
yeah,
no
yeah.
this, no that, and they
Yeah.
think
That's going to solve the problem.
Keeps
Right.
it away from them.
Right.
They haven't met their maker on the way. They've just decided
Yeah.
that these
Yes.
things are going to make them right, and
Right.
make them and make their their transition or whatever a lot better. They just don't do that.
Right.
So that's-
And the Course goes the opposite direction. It gets out a shovel and starts digging out everything you could possibly think about and says, oh, not that either, not that either, not that either. Come on over here to nothingness. And you go, oh, boy, yay. Yeah.
I guess it just feels better to be able to move along in my physical body with the things that I
Right.
see in front of me and ask as I go along, rather than shoring up ideas about what I should or should not do in any given
Yes, yes,
instant.
yes.
And
Yeah.
that makes me see it's my free will, and I can
Sure.
go either way, and I don't really know all the time which way to go.
Yes.
There's no planned attack for this, it's just what
Right.
comes up in your own mind is what you have to
Right.
use your shovel on.
Right, and the deal with, if you've been trained, good little people do this, and you spend all your life trying to do that, but if you slip up, then you feel guilty because you slipped up because good little people do this, and then you compare yourself to people that don't know your story and judge them because they're not doing what you do. So it's all wrapped up in a way where either way, I'm judging and attacking and feeling guilty. This is about total release from guilt eventually when you really understand it and start to process this. Yeah.
I really get on my own nerves sometimes. I'm gonna tell you that.
I love
Seriously,
it,
though,
but
you
that's
know,
so true.
because I don't know if it's like from my upbringing or what, but, I'm really close with my brother, and, ever since this, he's checked on me and everything.
Aw.
And yesterday, we just got into a little altercation, which doesn't really happen, and, it was just silly. It was, whatever, it doesn't even matter. And he made some kind of comment to me like, oh, you're so sensitive. And I had already asked him, so I came across 2 banks of cages, which is like a good thing to sell whatever, for grooming. And so he's got the truck, he always helps me. So we ended up hanging up, and it wasn't nice, and I'm thinking, you know what, here I am online. First of all, I'm never gonna talk to him again. Where does that, why do I like that, right? I'm never talking to him again, and so now I'm online looking at Hertz and Avis and Home Depot.
Trucks,
I'm
right.
gonna rent my own truck, and you know what I mean, and all this stuff is coming, I did not use the Ask for a Miracle yesterday.
All right. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I didn't, and I just kind of was off spinning, and I'm like, sometimes I feel like justified in that.
Oh,
in that
sometimes,
race, because I'm just like, you
yeah.
hurt me, and then I don't want to let it go, so I call my sponsor, and I'm telling her, and I'm like, look, this is what's going on. And she says, well, I can only tell you what I do, and I write my resentments, and then I write up my fears, and then I ask her, because she, from a different angle. And I'm like, okay, but you know what, sometimes I just like to be mad. She's like, well, Dawn, you could do that. She's son of a, you could do that too. I mean, go ahead, you could do that.
Absolutely.
She said, sometimes, I'm the one who's doing the work. That's what she said, I'm the one who's doing the work. I haven't pulled my big girl pants. And it was really interesting because I sent him a text after that, a nice one, which is, and then this morning I got up and I was doing my thing, and he called me, and my brother never apologizes. He does not. And he told me, he's like, I just wanted to apologize. I just want to say I'm sorry for yesterday. It put me into tears, and I'm like, I love you. He's like, all I have left is my brother. I have an aunt and uncle, but we don't really talk that much. And I'm thinking, but I just hate that. Like one of my other sponsors used to say, would you rather be right or happy?
Oh,
Dawn?"
sure.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I'd say, I'd rather be right.
Oh, most of the time we'd
Isn't
rather
that
be right.
terrible? Why are you like this? Like, how do I
Because,
give up?
right, but in answer to why are we like that, and it's not you, it's all of us, is because
Thank you,
giving up the hold of the ego means I'm joining with the oneness that I'm really too afraid of right now. And on some level, not consciously, I would rather be in pain and suffering, which is so sick, than owning this part. And so what the Course would say is observe. Right now, I'm not ready to do that. But the beauty of that is when you turn that switch and you honestly really wanted the shift, the reflection of that love came through in a way that, as you said, my brother never apologizes. And that opens your heart, and you see that other individual from a much deeper aspect of love. I mean, that to me is what the miracle is about. Pretty powerful stuff. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back and play some more. Because we love to. Okay, guys, we are back. Maybe.
Well, you get a choice. You can actually change every 10 minutes, you know.
Okay, so here's a quote actually from the Course. It says, everyone has experienced what he would call a sense of being transported beyond himself, a sudden unawareness of the body and a joining of yourself and something else in which your mind enlarges to encompass it. It becomes a part of you as you unite with it, and both become whole, as neither is perceived as separate. What really happens is that you've given up the illusion of a limited awareness and lost your fear of union. You join it without reservation because you love it and would be with it. And so you rush to meet it, letting your limits melt away, suspending all the laws your body obeys, and gently gently setting them aside. And what this paragraph is relating to is, I'm sure that everybody, even before they came to the Course in Miracles, probably had a few incidences in their lives when you were transported beyond what the normal world would say is physical and solid and whatnot. And what the Course is trying to help us do is have those happen more frequently because of the choice of practicing what it offers. And I always like to think of it from the movie The Truman Show, where Truman, every once in a while, you'd see the elevator open and see the cameraman, and he started to get suspicious, what's going on here, and a number of other incidences that occurred. He couldn't quite put it all together, but he knew something wasn't quite right. And I would say most of us throughout our lives knew there was something not quite right here. We could never put our fingers to it or figure out what to do with it. But the Course kind of came in and said, okay, this is why this is this way, and this is what you could do to move beyond it so that your daily life experiences would be more of this opening. And you're sharing to just before the break of, that expended something within you. I could feel it from here, and not let alone being in your experience of it. It's something that takes you beyond the limited aspect of your own physical body. And it's a real sweet place to be, and we want to have more of those if possible, yeah.
Especially when you've been so upset and
Oh,
angry
gosh,
and overwhelmed
absolutely.
by what's going on, to have
Absolutely.
something break like that is
Yes, yeah.
interesting and
Right.
great.
And I think your progression of that, it was so perfect because you didn't just say, oh, well, too bad or whatever. You really, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm going to make phone calls, I'm going to get that truck, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or whatever it is the good little ego could conjure up to solve the problem. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you settled down to the point of, okay, maybe I could do something different here. And then the reflection of that choice then came forth in your world in a way that you could not have conjured it up. And so often that's a description of the reflection of a choice for oneness is, I wouldn't have thought of this on my own. It's beyond me. So, all right. Thus, we cannot truly understand A Course in Miracles through our bodies, our brains, since it exists in the right-minded place beyond the laws of the body, which act only to keep us separate from the reflected thoughts of truth that transcend time and space entirely. And I often say, the words of the dictionary here and the words of the dictionary here are not the same words. And you could say the laws of the universe here and the laws of the universe here are completely different and mutually exclusive. So if I'm over here trying to figure out the problem, I'm not going to get this answer. This answer will only come when I let go of my need to be in control of the situation.
So you can't say, what in the world should I do? Because it's not going to give you
Right.
give you more things in the world, and that's not going to solve your problem.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, again, before we only knew of this, so we did our best to try to manipulate the world and try to figure it out. Now we have another way, another option. So again, this is another quote from the Course, and it's in workbook 188 if anybody wants to look it up or whatever. So the peace of God is shining in you now, and from your heart extends around the world. It pauses to caress each living thing and leaves a blessing with it that remains forever and forever. What it gives must be eternal. It removes all thoughts of the, I have trouble pronouncing this word, ephemeral. Thank you. I don't know why I have a block with that one. And valueless. It brings renewal to all tired hearts and lights all vision as it passes by. All of its gifts are given everyone, and everyone unites in giving thanks to you who give and you who have received. So again, when we make that shift, we are not just healing the conflict between that brother, in this particular case, your brother. When we make that choice, it's like literally healing the brother, but it is extending everywhere, much bigger than what you could possibly figure out. And again, workbook 5, I'm never upset for the reason I don't know what healing is. I don't even know what's broken, let alone how to heal it. And yet when I open that door, the magic can happen. And it's not, the magic man, this is the Holy Spirit working through you.
And it like it glitters all over you.
Big time.
How your body, we're always talking about how the body actually is not there.
Exactly.
Is not
Yes,
the
yes,
body
yes.
is- what was that sentence? The body is never always, never,
In the holy instant, there's no time, space, and your body doesn't exist. But in truth, you see, your body never really exists anyways. That's something that, because of the programming of the robot, of our ears, eyes, feelings, emotions, and everything else, senses, we think it does exist. But we know, again, if you're in a movie theater and there's a projection on the screen, there's nobody there. And the more we spend coming back to the mind, the more we will understand the body is not real. And it won't be a threat to release the body because we'll know it was nothing in the first place. And we'll begin to honor, enjoy, and respect the fact that, oh, yay, I'm aligned with my mind. Finally, thank you very much. It's a whole different experience, yeah.
in no moment is the body even there.
Right, but there literally nowhere is the body ever
The
there.
body is not
Yeah.
in any.
Yes, and there's other places that say the body only appears to be there because we believe it is, because of the belief system. Yeah, and boy, that belief system is obviously pretty heavy duty, yep.
This whole discussion reminds me of the kind of metaphor of a waterfall. And as you go over the edge, you're like in an individual drop
Oh,
going
yes,
down.
correct,
And just
yep.
kind of free falling.
Right,
But really, you're part of this huge waterfall.
exactly,
And eventually, you connect
correct,
with
everything, yes, yes,
But if you could see, even when you're in that drop,
yes,
you are still water,
yes.
along with all the water all around you, and not
Correct,
just.
correct.
But we tend to identify with the fragment.
The I, yes, correct.
Versus the
The
oneness.
everything, yeah, yeah. And there's actually a place in the Course where it talks about, we think we're the droplet instead of the water,
Yes.
and it compares it to the extension of the sun and the sunbeam, and they're really all one,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And again, that comes because I'm identified with the I being who I am instead of the all. And then again, if I'm aligned with duality, I'm always going to be coming from the I. You can't not. And it's I against you on top of that. In the oneness, that all,
The oneness basically assassinates.
yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
so the I doesn't want to
Right.
give itself away.
Correct. And the deal is, when we give up the I, we then have everything instead of nothing, because when we're identified as the I, we're in lack and limitation. And, think about, as you said, the waterfall and this little tiny drop thinking it's like something special.
But when you give up that drop, you don't know, are you going to be the water hitting a rock? Or
Correct.
the
Yes.
water that
Yes.
joins with the plant or gets eaten
Correct.
by the fish or whatever, so
Yeah.
you give up your role that you think you are playing in this
Yes,
life, which
yes.
is scary.
Right.
My friend was just texting me saying, I can't believe it, I've been living my life just thinking I want everyone to approve of me.
Right.
My mind wants to have approval. And I'm thinking, and that it's just, that's where the problem is. Her mind thinks
Correct.
she has to be the good little ego.
Right.
And now she realizes she
Right.
can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
Yep.
you know.
And the reason we need and demand the approval is because we feel we're lacking, because we're in the dualistic state. Yeah.
'Cause your worth doesn't
Right.
depend on whether people like you or not.
Right, right.
Nobody's ever gonna always like you. That's just
No,
not
no. And we are constantly chasing in the world to try to be filled up with something that the world can never fill us up with on top of it, despite our best efforts. And we work pretty hard to try to have that happen.
So much work. for
Very
nothing.
much a lot of work, yes.
Mark Twain has a quote about that. I don't care what people say about me, as long as it's not true.
Right, yeah.
Who says
Right.
that, Jim?
Mark
Mark
Twain,
Twain.
yeah.
Mark Twain.
And the deal is, you can't pretend that I don't want that, okay? Because that's not what it's saying. It's saying, be aware that you still continue to try to grasp something from the world, and then drop that story and ask the Holy Spirit to be shown that I'm everything.
You could be anything and everything.
Yes. And I don't need something on the outside to make me full. And that doesn't mean I wouldn't talk to people on the outside or whatever. It's just that grasping and needing and wanting. And, Ken used to sort of joke around, you meet a new relationship and they bring you flowers every day, and then they don't bring you flowers one day, and it's, oh, why didn't you bring me flowers today? And we're constantly, even if we get it for a couple times or a couple days and we think, oh, I'm all complete now, nobody can sustain the ability to give me that which is not really giving it to me. It feels better than not having it, don't get me wrong, but that's not where the answer comes. All right, so that paragraph is very clear, not to mention quite beautiful. The message is the same throughout the Course in Miracles. If you truly accept the peace of God, it will shine in you, and from your heart extend around the world. Because in oneness, everything is one. In two-ness, everything is limited. This does not mean that you will suddenly see a ring of light embrace the sky, however. It is the world of the mind. This peace caresses every living thing, and its gifts are given everyone. And again, this is a win-win situation between you and the individual, between you and everything and everyone else. And at oneness, you're going to see everybody as one. In two-ness, you're going to see the multiplicity of duality, spread everywhere you look and every experience that you have. That is how you know it is the peace of God. And, that's another thing that can be tricky, because I could, it's Saturday, it's a beautiful day, I could go on a picnic and say, oh, I'm so much at peace. But is this a sustained peace that will be with you forever? And, again, the experience that Dawn shared with us, that experience is never going to leave you. That will be something that's part of who you are now, literally. Yeah.
That's really true.
Yeah, it really is true. And it's truly, whoa. And I would guess from the description you gave, it was an expansive feeling from inside. Yes. Yep.
Well, my neighbor's been gone about 8 years now. And when my son graduated from high school, we were good friends for a long time. And then
Could you speak up just a little louder? Because
when my son graduated from high school, She had her peonies were blooming. She had red ones and she had pink ones, she had white ones. And when I had the party at my house, she cut all the peonies and she put them in vases and put them on my tables.
Mhm.
And I was at her house yesterday because her husband went away, I was watering her plants. And, you know, it was really,
Mhm.
you know, I said, Diane, you've been gone a long time, but she's there.
Yeah.
She's here, you know, that
Yep.
was so sweet to have that. And just remember that for so many years now.
Yep.
Those flowers just were, she cut them all and put them in the vases.
Yep. And the reflection of that love for you, and somebody else would say, oh, so peonies in a pot, you know. But
Right.
for you, that was a reflection that, you know, expanded your heart. So it's very individualized in that respect. But yeah, but if somebody's had a reflection of that, they can relate to your story because they know they've had that kind of an experience and what that
And I
represents.
guess it really wasn't any one thing that she did, it was just that.
A
that
representation,
somehow
yeah.
It confirmed how we were close and how that was important and how even though she's gone, her body's gone, and I think that's been a big question to me. You know, if your body's gone, I can say, well, I remember things about my brothers and I remember things and I take joy in that, but I think that particular feeling just kind of, you know, who smelled the peonies outside, you know, oh, remember that time when she did that.
Beautiful. And above all, that is how you know it is not you, because it includes everyone and everything no longer perceived as separate from you. And again, that expansiveness of, you know, that energy, for lack of a better word, it expands outside of your encompassment of the limitness of your body. Yeah. All right, remember, the idea is to transcend the I, to transcend the personal. You cannot make this happen, and that's important. It's not Mary Ann that makes that happen. It will happen of itself when the barriers are gone. And how do we remove the barriers? You get out of the way. I don't know. That will speed you along, what will speed you along is simply asking Jesus or the Holy Spirit day in and day out, all the time, for help in seeing everyone as part of the same sonship. So this constant idea of asking, you know, you may ask, 100 times one day and not have any reflection whatsoever. And then, 6 months later, something will happen and it'll just like rush in on you. But it's a culmination of all those times you said, I want that more than the separated state. So keep on keeping is what I'm saying. Okay, for help is seeing everyone. All right, I read that. All right, as he says at the end of chapter 15 in the special New Year prayer, make this year different by making it all the same. So in other words, every moment that you can think of it is your opportunity to ask for healing. And use every day of the year as that is your goal. Make this year different from all others by making everything that you perceive the same. You can do this because everything is the same. There is truth, and then there is everything else. And everything else is equally nothing, which is a real challenge for us because I don't think everything else is nothing. Eventually I'll come to the awareness and know unequivocally that everything else is nothing. But right now I cling to, I cherish, I believe, and I'm right, and but in truth, we will be shown that none of it's real. And it has absolutely, positively no effect on the presence of who you really are. Every illusion is the same, and this is something that we have to grow into as well, because eventually, no matter what takes your peace away, you won't be questioning, what do I need to do, why did this happen? You'll simply, oh, that's right, I've lost my peace. That must mean I'm aligned with this, and help. it'll become a much easier flowing process. But normally, initially, we want to figure it out, find out what it was, And I often kind of relate the course to, I'm not that great at computers. I mean, I do my best, and I do trudge through whatever it is that I think I need to accomplish. But a computer wizard could come in there and get it like 100 bazillion times faster than I could because of their knowledge. Well, as we walk into this knowledge by choosing more and more frequently, the connecting links to be able to do it like that will start to occur. But right now, we kind of trudge along one little step at a time, which is, where you're going to start, of course.
And that's good enough for what you.
That's good enough.
That's good enough for now. You can't skip ahead. You can't
Yes.
skip ahead. You have to.
Yeah.
Because all those things that come up as barriers to love, those are all solid things in our mind.
Of
It's not like
course.
we're gonna,
Oh, yeah.
And that's what the Holy Spirit uses all that junk that we've been holding on to for all this time. So
Correct.
that's how it uses it for the different purpose, and then we have to go through that. That's part of it. We have to go through that. We can't skip it.
Right.
We have to play canasta to learn that it's not really what we want to do.
Right.
Right.
And again, I've always kind of thought it was cool that this is called A Course in Miracles, because it's everything we've ever learned in our life is a course in something, a course in learning how to walk, how to play piano, how to play tennis, whatever it may be. And we all know if you want to accomplish any of those within the confines of the world, you start with not knowing how to do it, and you start to practice, and you keep adding to that. And as you add to that, eventually, as I mentioned earlier, you could be playing the piano, and it's not you, it's just flowing through you. And the Course literally will have that same effect as we keep going through it. All right, so there is truth, and then there is everything else. And everything else, pardon me? Well, that's not, well, let's see, that was from Workbook 21, paragraph 2. Actually, I lied. All right. Let's see. There's truth, and then there is everything else. And everything else is equally nothing. Everything else. Every illusion is the same. A slight twinge of annoyance and an intense fury are the same. Really irritating for a good little ego trying to be good. But what it's saying is you're either at peace or you're not. It doesn't matter how extreme it is. It doesn't matter what it's about. And we know the hierarchy in our world, if a baby dies, that's terrible. If I crack my fingernail, well, who cares? But if I lost my peace, they're all equal from this perspective. Am I at peace or am I not? And again, as the Workbook 5 says, I'm never upset for the reason I think anyways. No matter what the form of the scenario that appears to have taken my peace away, it all comes from here. We just identify it with a thing and say it is that, but it's really not that. That's camouflage.
We're always just fishing into peace and mind.
Fishing, yes. And the Course even explains that you already lost your peace, and then you put a face on it. And it doesn't matter how big or small or significant or insignificant it may appear to be. And I think initially that's a little overwhelming to grasp and really make sense of. But as you progress through the Course again more and more, it's simply, I've lost my peace, help. I want to align with what truth is.
You have to accept that you're delusional.
Oh, yeah, and everything is delusional, yes.
I think
Right.
initially that's the.
Oh, yeah, that's
initial-
real hard to take.
I was
Yes,
wrong about
right,
that.
yeah.
And
Good
you're
point.
wrong all the time.
Yes.
Pretty
You
much.
are- Well, yeah, if you don't know what's going on, you're wrong all the time,
You
yes, yes.
think you know. but
Of course, yeah,
you're
good
usually
point.
wrong.
All right, so I'm going to read that again. Every illusion is the same. A slight twinge of annoyance and intense fury are all the same. Okay, nothing is always nothing, regardless of its form. And literally, Jesus throughout the Course is saying, you're nothing, everything you're upset about's nothing, there's no world. And it's like, what, huh?
And your question to Jesus when you're upset about nothing is, help me to now this is nothing. You said it's nothing, it's really a lot to me. And I get kind of on my high horse with him. I don't let him
Exactly.
off quick. I keep hammering away.
Yeah.
How is this nothing?
Yes.
And then I calm down.
Right.
I think that's what it does.
Yes,
'Cause
it calms
I'm worked
down.
up, and I could write, but I just kind of put it on him. I don't let him off the hook.
I guess I say, if this is what you're saying, then I have, help me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not angry, but I am angry to begin with, I think, because that's how it starts. And then I calm myself down by asking, because there's no other way to get an answer.
Right.
There's no other answer I really want. I want to know how, if you say this is supposed to be, I want to know. And it's in this book, and everybody I know says it's in this book, and you better start dishing it out to me, please.
Yeah. But literally, the shift is that you agreed to align with him. Okay? When you're asking to see it differently, you're agreeing to align with him instead of with the ego. And keep remembering, whichever one of these two I choose, I'm going to get the effect in the world, a projection or a reflection, depending on which one I chose. So when you're over here, I'm going to get a projection of guilt, sin, and fear and separation. The moment I shift over here by asking, I'm saying, I want to see your world, not mine. Mine sucks. I'm tired of mine. I want to know what yours is. You keep promising yours is better than mine. And there's a sweet little line that says, take the best moment of your entire life and multiply it 1,000 times, 1,000 times, 1,000. And oneness, it doesn't even come close to that. And we just cling to the insanity of separation like it's this wonderful thing. But we don't know. But again, as we talked about before, we don't know anything else. We don't know how to not be the one in control. And to stoop that low takes a lot of effort from where we are right now, because I think that I got something good going here. And, keep remembering, we made this. And we all know when a little kid comes home with a picture and he shows it to mom, and mom goes, oh, that's really nice. What is it? Tell me about it, because she hasn't got a clue. And he'll tell this big story about it. And what do they want? They want you to plaster that picture on the refrigerator so it would be seen by everybody, and don't you ever remove it again. Well, we made this. We don't want to relinquish what we made, because we value it just as much as that little child does the picture that they drew or painted.
I was just thinking that's what I did to my son. I don't think he cared if it was on the refrigerator.
Right.
That was my interpretation.
Well, either way.
What children are supposed to, children's parents are supposed to be,
Right.
kind of worship the ground they walk on with all their little junk in it.
All their little junk.
But he never fell for that, so.
Yeah. But either way, like to you, right, so if it wasn't important to him, but it was important to you, so no matter how it gets played out, it's getting played out.
Important with all the junk in the world is put up on the refrigerator is interesting. Everybody's house has a different way of doing it.
Right, but even if we don't go to the pictures, I mean, when you do something, you're excited and proud because it's you that did it. Okay, so that's big.
Somebody that you know and love dearly.
Yeah, because I invested my time and my energy and myself into that. And, I think like the monks that do the mandalas, and they spend all those times and then they do out. Well, most people look at that and think, what the heck are you doing here, dude? But to them, I'm sure this is training to this very concept. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I guess I discovered puzzles on my own, and I don't mind getting dumping it back into the box.
Well,
it's interesting. It feels better than trying to do something important in the world. I suppose. I don't know. Some people don't care for those things much.
Yep.
But with your puzzle, you're gonna make that same puzzle again.
Right.
Because they'll never make that same sand art again.
The same what again?
Sand art.
Yeah, but when they
Well,
do
but
the-
they sometimes
when
might do the same mandala. I don't know.
Well, they dumped it at the art museum. They dumped it in
The whole
lagoon,
thing in the lake,
so
right?
it was
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
But then they could make another one.
Sure.
They could, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how does that bounce
Yeah, I'm not sure about that answer. I don't know if they do an individual one every single time. But even, if you think about doing a puzzle the second time, you never put that puzzle together the same way you did the first time.
That's true.
So, yeah.
How do you know?
I would say the chances are really high that you didn't do it the same.
Well, the cool thing is now you really remember where those pieces.
Oh,
are.
well,
So
sure,
You
right.
go, I know where this goes.
Right,
I mess around
exactly.
this time, yeah. So that's how you think you're gonna get over on the puzzle.
Right,
But
right,
it's the
right.
same old stuff and you have to go through some other realm of
Right.
anticipation or regret or aggravation to get there.
Yep. All right, so the beauty of this lesson is that it offers us a glimpse among many other glimpses in the Course of what the truth really is. A light that embraces all people as one, because the separation is an illusion. What we see with our eyes, and this is in quotes, which always means it's an ego seeing, are just the fragmented projections of God's one, now separated Son. So what we see is always a limit. It's not the whole. What enables us to learn that the separation never happened is to realize, first and foremost, that there is no separate interest. Okay, that's big, because we're all either playing in duality or oneness, and we're all suffering if we're in duality. When Dawn had that confrontation with her son, or excuse me, her brother, he was playing I'm right, you were playing I'm right. And with a legitimate reason to believe that you are correct on top of that. Yeah. And at that moment, you made that shift of maybe not. That's where the difference comes in. I cannot say that too often. It is a key to the Course, the essential idea that our relationships, indeed in everything in our lives, is to learn to be selfless, not in a sacrificial way. And I'll stop there because many spiritualities would say, you put the other person first, but there's always that sacrificial aspect of it, of I'm going to be the good little person and do that, which is not the same as doing it because it's really what I want above the separated, miserable state. And, we can play games with all possibilities here.
And you back off from the argument and then you feel like a stupid ass because you did that. And
Well,
then
either
you have to
that,
go
right.
do all the writing again to get it so that because you say I'm afraid to. I guess that's where fear comes
Right.
in.
Because you're afraid to lose them somehow, so you're not
Sure.
gonna argue with them.
Yep.
And then you feel like a dummy because you didn't.
Yep. Or you tell all your friends how it was unfair. That's not the doing that this is talking about. You may have to do that a few more times before you can come to the real doing of it, but yeah.
Well, that gets tricky.
It's extremely tricky.
That gets tricky for me because being raised to be quiet and
Be
get along.
good.
Right. But so I guess rather than going to that module for myself or model for myself, I ask, then I have to replace that instinct to asking
Right.
And waiting, and just, asking for help and not capitulating or.
Right.
If I do, then, just go back over it and get it straightened out in my mind, how I feel about it, and then go from there.
So to learn is to be selfless, not in a sacrificial way, not in the sense you are giving anything up, but selfless in the realization you want to have the individual, unique, special self that we all have so coveted and cherished be replaced. And again, you can't be forced into this or coerced into it. It has to come to a place where if I'm in conflict and I really want peace more than anything else, I'm willing to relinquish the conflict to be shown what peace is. And again, if you're at a place where you become aware, even consciously, I could choose differently, and you're not ready to choose differently, and you sit with that and you don't judge yourself for that, that is a step ahead of being, oh, I'm just so pure and loving, I just don't know why I'm not getting all this love coming to me. So this is really about just being honest with where you sit and not judging or attacking yourself if you're not ready to relinquish it.
And that's that's really a great way to let the competition go. If that's what happens, the angst goes away.
But you have to be at a place where you really want the peace more than anything else. And there's a line in the Course where it says, if you say you want the peace, it's nothing. If you mean it, it's everything. Yeah. And just like learning how to play the piano, just because I want to learn how to play the piano doesn't mean I'm a concert pianist. But if I get the piano, I get the lesson, I get the music, and I start practicing it, then eventually I can come to that place. All right, so I'm going to read that again. To learn is to be selfless, not in a sacrificial way, not in the sense that you are giving up anything, but selfless in the realization that you want to have the individual, unique, special self that we all have to so coveted and cherished be replaced. And be very aware when he talks about the idea of that we all have the same interests. Your brother, whoever your brother may be, is coming from that same place. We want to be right. We want to be an individual. We want to be special. And for most of us, we continue to cherish that more than the understanding that I want to know what peace is. And most people don't even know that they're cherishing those things. We've at least become aware I'm cherishing them even if I'm not ready to let them go yet. You come to learn without sacrifice, because if sacrifice is involved, you are on the wrong spiritual path and will not learn. And most of us were brought up in some form of spirituality or religion, and if you remember, sacrifice was a big part of the journey. Okay, I'm not going to eat meat on Friday, and I'm going to show God how much I love him, or whatever it may be. There's forms of it, or multiple different ways. But this Course is very specific. If you're doing this in a sacrificial way, you're not doing it because it's what you want more than anything else. And it will always backfire. It is only when I really want it more than anything else that I'm really coming from a place of desire instead of, lining up with the little ducks and doing what I'm supposed to do. So I think we will end there, and we'll continue working on this tomorrow or next time. So everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given, and accept but this into the minds that you've created and which you love. Amen. And be very gentle with yourself in this process, because this is literally taking us from a total enmeshment in the ego and eventually taking us to this and then pouring water in your lap. And it's going to take some practice, guys. If we, as I said, if we walked into the room totally free of any concepts or beliefs, this would be a simple course. But because we're fighting against all the things we think we know, it's going to be a process. So have a great week and go forth among the people and have a wonderful time.